Hi everyone, so this video is going to be on the topic of reincarnation and some of my opinions on this particular topic and some of my recent experiences. Alright, I'm not sure exactly how I wanted to start this. Alright, I recently, for my birthday, got myself a reading from Jen from Abroomandthemoon, past life oracle reading. Yes, past life oracle reading, um, and wanted to talk about that a little bit. It seems that in this particular life, the themes that keep repeating themselves are, the life that I'm living right now. The themes that seem to keep repeating themselves are themes of relinquishing, of letting go, and of accepting things the way they are, um, um, falling on the support of others, so learning to accept help without too much resistance. So basically, it's been about breaking down resistance to some of the more difficult aspects of life, I suppose. This life has not been particularly easy. Not that any life is necessarily easy, but this one seems to be particularly not easy. um, I have my puppies with me, as always. Hi. Hi. Okay. Okay. Say hello. Say hello. Yeah. Say hello and please go sit down. Alright, you said hello? Yeah. Go on. Go on. Down. Thank you. They're being more well behaved today. Okay, so I took notes on the reading and I'm gonna go over a few things I wanted to share with you. So if I'm not looking right at you, it's because I'm reading my notes. Sorry. I just want to make sure I get everything here. Okay. Can you still see me? Can you see me? And hold on. Now I can't see you. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me try this again. Okay. That'll work. I can see you. Okay. Okay. So all of her readings pretty much start out with I don't know if you want to call it a crystal grid. She has certain crystals that she always brings out when she's doing a reading, because she resonates with certain crystal energies, crystal energies. Hi, hi, thank you. Okay, please go, please go. I'm doing a video, please. Thank you. Okay, so the deck that I picked for myself, and she will let you pick a deck if you have something particular that you want her to work with. She has a list on her Etsy shop, Abroomandthemoon, of cards that she uses, and you can pick from the list what interests you. So I picked the Earth Magic deck, which seemed like a good deck to pick for anything to do with delving into past lives, or any kind of record looking, uh, any kind of memory work at all. I think it would work. Anyway, so the reading, I believe, had how many parts? 9 parts? 9 parts? 12 parts. Or 13. I cannot count. Okay, but the first one was basic soul nature, and these are listed, I believe, on her Etsy. Um, Covers basic soul nature, how your essence came into this particular life, and she uses the word soul, but to me, soul means something different than what she's talking about. Um, for me, soul is created with the body, so it's not the eternal aspect of the self. So we might say the spirit or the essence of person, the essence of the person that enters different lives. Okay. Um, so the first one was basic soul nature, and pretty much immediately um, the rainbow bridge showed up, and that means something very particular to me. But she picked up on that this particular past life that we were discussing was about what she calls blessings. I call fulfillment. Kind of like uh, not reaping the harvest of other past lives, other work that I had done in previous lives, or on the other side or in the other world. So this particular life seemed to me about fulfillment, or the completion of a cycle. So it was more about harvest than it was about making any kind of effort at working in this particular life. So it wasn't so much about striving, which this life has a few elements to it that are based in um, some serious spiritual work that I have to do. So it was really comforting to me that I did have at least one life that was about fulfillment and about completion of a cycle. Um, that made me feel pretty good, and just to have the knowledge that I have been through a life like that, I think helps helps me when I face certain issues in this life. So it's very encouraging to me, and I think that is part of what past life work is about, if not primarily what past life work is about informing this life, because we are living this life right now. So not that this life is necessarily more important than any past life memory that we may have, but since we are evaluating our past lives from this point in time and space, and from this life that we're living right now, this life becomes more the immediate concern. So any kind of past life work, I think, is to inform this life, to be encouragement, or to educate on perhaps some patterns that have repeated themselves and have origins in other lives. So it's basically just a tool for us to be able to look back and say, oh, I can see that I've dealt with this certain issue, or I have experienced this certain aspect of life in these other lives that have carried over into this life, and so now that I have that knowledge, I can reevaluate what I'm doing now. Puppy's shaking my computer. Okay. What was next? Okay. After basic soul nature covers the kind of environment that I was in, and that one was a little bit more difficult for me to kind of grasp, but the card was wind activation. If you have the Earth Magic deck, you can reference. I really want to get this deck. I think it would be very useful for me in my workings. And I've never had a tarot deck or a oracle deck, so I think someday I'm going to get this one. Alright, so this, she told me, was related to my energy level at the time, which seemed to be very high vibrating, and that I had some understanding of like universal or spiritual principles like the law of attraction, and that whole life was about activating that kind of energy. So, and that's not necessarily what this life is about, but it feels good that I did have one of those lives, and in some way this life kind of feels like a stepping back, not necessarily in a negative way, but it's more about stepping back and letting go of things. And hi. It's difficult to see you with this paper up, but more about simplicity, I suppose. But this seemed to be one of my more active lives, so it just feels good that I had one of those. Right. Early years was apparently a very spiritually intuitive, sensitive person, which has probably carried over a bit into this life, though probably not to the same extent as this past life, which is a little bit sad to me. um, there's a lot about this life that makes me feel like I'm taking a step back right now and just doing something a little bit different. See, education was more about reflecting or being reflective, contemplation, um, basically learning from experience and contemplating my own sphere of influence, my own environment, that sort of thing. Accomplishments was um, mostly about developing my instincts and being able to pay attention to the signals that I was getting, being able to trust my intuition or my gut instincts, or what you might call the primal knowledge. Um, that is very difficult for me in this life, and it's surprising that that was one of my accomplishments in a past life. That was something that I was able to have a strong grasp of. Um, I do have strong instincts, particularly about people, but I don't necessarily pay that much attention to them like I should. So, like I said, sometimes this life kind of feels like a step back, and I'm doing a little bit something different. So, but that may be something I will come back to in the future, maybe even in this life. Um, Occupation was, I had a spiritually based occupation, which doesn't surprise me at all. Social status, was extremely introverted, it seems, and had difficulty socializing with others and didn't really have very close relationships. Um, and that's probably something that has carried into this life. I am an introvert, and it is difficult for me to engage with people on a um, informal in an informal way. It's much easier for me to engage with people, to talk to people, and have social interactions with people in more formal settings or um, study groups. spiritual groups, that sort of thing. So that feels very familiar to me. And the next issue that was covered was relationships, and that particular life was about reintegrating old relationships or reconnecting with 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 people who were from previous lives, and that seems also to be something that carries into this life, that I um, am continuously meeting the same people in different forms. Um, so I thought that was pretty interesting, and it was particularly about mending broken relationships or relationships that in past lives didn't really come to fruition and didn't work out for whatever reason. Um, I'm not sure if that's true in this one. I have, again, had to let go of a few relationships, which is, kind of the theme of this life, is being able to let go of some stuff. Um, she picked up on that I was most definitely female in this past life, and I think I've been female probably far more often than I have been male. I just get that impression myself from what I understand of me. Um, Alright, family life. I didn't really have much of a chosen family. Like, I didn't get married or have children. Um, Also, really in this life, I'm not interested in getting married. I I would very much like to have some kind of intimate relationship, which I've not had. That might be a little bit too much TMI for you, but yeah, that seems to be something that's just part that's really familiar to me, that I never really have much interest in getting married or having my own children. Um, and I don't know about the relationships I might have had with my primary family in this past life. I got the impression that I really didn't have very strong connections with people in general in this past life, unless it was through spiritual work, um, through my occupation, or through being a kind of helper, or don't want to say healer. I know that's kind of a general term. I don't know what else to say. Um, a spiritual person. Um, let's see, yeah. So socializing was kind of difficult, and that's kind of carried over. And then how I approached death, or what my death was like, um, was really, really very comforting, because I've had a lot of medical issues in this life, and it's been um, the concept of death has been difficult for me to not the concept of death, like as part of the pattern of life. I understand and I can accept that, but personally, I've had some very intense experiences, not near-death experiences like, flashing lights and uh, angelic beings and that sort of thing, but lots of hospital visits and lots of contact with death and the ill and the dying process, so that I was able in at least one life, to approach my own death with some sense of grace and an idea that it's it's part of the harmony of life. That is comforting, and I don't feel like I have that same grip on it that I did then, and I'm not sure particularly why that is. I think I'm experiencing it more very personally. So so the the difference between death as a principle and death as in something that you are experiencing throughout your life. It's more difficult, I think, this when it's more personal, and it's something that shows up um, continuously through illness and through hospitalization and some other physical traumas. um, but that was comforting. Lessons learned was about following your dreams, having passion for the life that you've chosen to live. There was a very strong focus on spirituality, which kind of carries over into this life. Um, uh, Lessons learned number 2, and this was awesome because the fair folk showed up. Um, Fairies Earth Magic was the card, which I thought was just perfect. I was really I guess I wasn't very surprised that they showed up because I know that they've been around for a long time, the fair folk, and but it was just really good to see them there as part of this past life, since they are such a very big part of this life that I'm living now. So that has definitely carried over into this life. So fairies, earth magic. At the time, she said I was probably very uh, pagan, earth oriented, which which is a little bit surprising because I've thought of myself a few times in more of the capacity of the cloistered nun or the preacher's wife, or more of a I guess a Judeo-Christian traditional um, background, spiritual background, but that was really interesting to learn that this life is definitely not the first time that I've experienced this particular type of spiritual path. And okay, learned how to work with the cycles of life or the cycles of nature, working with the earth, that sort of thing. And I think another aspect to this particular life that I got a reading for was um, seeing life, particularly like the spiritual aspects of life, as a part of a natural system, not as necessarily as something uh, transcendent, something out there and um, difficult to grasp, but it was something that came naturally to me. So I may have to reflect on this and try to remember myself a little bit better, because there's a lot of this that I think I would benefit from in this life. And like I said, I think that's the whole point of having knowledge of your past lives. So for instance, if you believe that you had a past life as some historical or celebrity figure, you might want to look at the themes that are present in those lives, like I guess I'm going to give specifics. Like with Marie Antoinette, she was the foreigner who was unaccepted in the country that she was supposed to rule, and she was, of course, an authority figure, but she was the stranger in a strange land, basically, and the people didn't understand her, and she did not understand them, so there was some alienation. Um, Also, she had kind of a sheltered life. She was a bit oblivious to the suffering of others. So these are serious aspects to the historical figure of Marie Antoinette. Um, that if you really do believe that this was your past life, you might want to look and see both the positive aspects of what she was like, very confident, very in love with the richer aspects of life, like very dramatic. She was dramatic and um, very graceful and elegant, but she was also very sheltered, and she was also foreign to the land where she got married and had to rule over, and people did not appreciate her, and there was some alienation, so she had issues that she had to face in that life. And if you resonate with that historical figure, even if it wasn't your past life, but you feel very connected to that historical figure, you may want to look at your own life and see if those patterns repeat in your life of being alienated from people, of feeling like the outsider and not being accepted, or of being very sheltered and not being able to connect with other people's suffering. Those were big themes to her life. And when we look at historical figures or celebrity figures and want to claim that's who I was, then we also do need to take the responsibility of looking at their faults and seeing if maybe those carried over into our lives, so that at least it becomes a a lesson for us, an opportunity to grow ourselves instead of focusing on some of the more glamorous aspects of those lives, although they are quite glamorous lives, because they are historical figures like Marie Antoinette or Lady Magdalene or uh, what else have I heard recently? Alexander the Great. These people, they had faults, they had major lessons that they needed to learn in those particular lives that they were having. And if you want to learn from them, then you need to look at their lives and see what their faults were and uh, what they might have learned in those lives, and what you can learn from looking back into the past, what you can learn from them. And I think that is more an appropriate way to approach this topic of famous people and past lives, or celebrity people and past lives. Something bit me. Alright, I don't know. There might be mosquitoes in here. I attract mosquitoes. Not sure why that is, but I do. Okay. And Jen does cover with you lessons that you can carry from that past life into this life, and I wanted to go over some of those. So lessons I learned in that life that were particularly for that life, and then lessons I can learn from that life for this life. And the first card that came up for that was childhood innocence, and the idea of innocence is extremely important to me. And when I say innocence, personally, I mean the innocence of um, like whales, and the innocence of lions, and the innocence of flowers, and of mountains, and of tornadoes, and I think of innocence not as naivete, and not as something that's delicate necessarily, but having a sense of wholeness to the self, and having a sense of um, I guess I could say perfection, um, as far as the soul goes, um, and being able to accept the wholeness of life. So when I think of innocence, it's not like the cherub, little babies with wings type innocence. It's it's a gracefulness, a charisma, an innocence of being a part of life and part of the earth, um, knowing your place in the cycle of life, um, participating and being reflective but also active. So there's a lot that goes into innocence for me, and I'm really glad that that showed up here. But a particular aspect of innocence was childhood innocence, so being able to have fun. Um, which is sometimes difficult for me given a lot of the circumstances I've had in this life. But I think that's really good. I think that is something that I can take away from this reading, that I need to focus more on um, the joy of living than necessarily this work of having to let go and to relinquish and to accept things that are difficult for me to do. I also do need every once in a while, and perhaps more often than I do, think of the innocence in life and the aspects of childhood that can carry over into adulthood. Um, so I really appreciated that message. The next part, I just took some notes from childhood innocence. For me, I got the beauty of the earth and life, to be able to play and be childlike. So childlike innocence is not necessarily um, being ignorant or being naive. Children can be very perceptive, and still they are innocent. Um, it's more being content with life, I think, and being able to enjoy the intricacies and the beauty of life. So I think that's what I get away from that. And let me see what else. The last card was also what else can you learn from this life, part 2. Ancestors, generations was the card. So she suggested that a lot of past lives, past life relationships have carried over into this life. And I know that for a fact there are a few friends that I have had that have followed me into different lives, or I followed them, or we just found each other again. And I tend to dream those people before I meet them. I I tend to dream quite a few people before I meet them, which to me signifies that they are someone who some they are people who have been connected to me at other times in other places, perhaps in the other world, if not in other lives, because my dreams tend to tie all that kind of stuff together, uh, even when I'm not particularly very good at that in waking life. um, so there's a lot of carryover in relationships to this life from past lives, and I can certainly believe that. So there's going to have to be a part 2 to this. Oh goodness, and I'm not going to be able to do it tonight. And I wanted to talk about past lives more generally, but I did want to cover what I've learned through the experience I had with Jen from Abroomandthemoon, and I would definitely recommend that you go check her out. If you haven't gotten a reading from her, uh, I would definitely recommend that if you're going to get a past life reading, or even she's got a whole list of different readings that you could get, but I think she does them extremely well, and it was it was a very good experience for me. So I recommend her. Her Etsy shop is Abroomandthemoon. I believe that's all one word. And she does have a channel on YouTube, which is also Abroomandthemoon. So check her out, and I will do a part 2 to past lives, more general talk of past life theory, and not necessarily my own personal experience, but I wanted to start with my personal experience this time. So that's it for this video. I'll say all stars shine on your paths, and I'm going to try something a little bit different here. I dreamed this, and I was with a group of, I don't know what kind of people they were. They weren't human people. They were very tall and shining, and I don't think they were angelics. They may very well have just been the shining people, or the she, or a group of them. They may have been someone else, but but what I got from them was the very, very tall and radiant people. And but anyway, this is the way we kind of greeted each other, and also the way we said farewell. It was kind of like that. So you touch your let me take off my glasses. You touch your third eye like this, and you cup your hands out like this to the person you're like that. That feels really good. I'm not exactly sure what that signifies, but that feels incredibly good. So I'm going to say, all stars shine on your path. Bye.